I'm replacing you in the photos. My ML showed up at our wedding photo session dressed exactly like me. She thought it was funny, until my husband said, "You'll never be in another photo of ours again." I never thought my wedding day would turn into a revenge story, but here we are. My mother-in-law, Diane, has always been a lot. She's the type of woman who thrives on attention. Every conversation has to be about her, every event has to include her, and if someone else is in the spotlight, she will find a way to drag it back to herself. She's not outright nasty, just exhausting. The kind of person who makes you feel like you have to smile and nod all the time to keep the peace. I knew from the start that she didn't like me. Not because I was mean to her or because we had some huge falling out, but because she saw me as competition. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then, little things started adding up. If my husband, Adam, complimented my cooking, Diane would immediately plan a family dinner and make a better version of the same dish. If Adam bought me a gift, she'd suddenly start talking about how he never does anything nice for her. If I posted a cute picture of Adam and me on social media, she'd post an old picture of her and Adam from when he was a kid, with a caption like, "The original love of his life." It was weird. But Adam didn't see it. To him, this was just how she is. She didn't mean anything by it. So, I learned to ignore it. For years, I let it go. Until our wedding day. Our wedding was beautiful. We had a small ceremony at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Diane was actually behaving herself, which should have been my first clue that something was off. She wasn't sulking. She wasn't complaining. She was too nice. I even caught myself thinking, wow, maybe she's actually happy for us. Then, we got to the photo session. After the ceremony, Adam and I planned to take some private photos before the reception. Just us, the photographer, and the gorgeous sunset behind us. We arrive at the vineyard, ready to soak in this perfect moment, and guess who's already standing there waiting for us? Diane, wearing a white lace dress. Not just any white dress. This thing was long, fitted, and almost identical to mine. The lace pattern was different, and her neckline was slightly lower, but otherwise, she could have walked down the aisle in it, and no one would have questioned it. I felt my stomach drop. My brain couldn't process what I was looking at. This had to be a joke, right? Adam stiffened next to me. "Mom, what are you wearing?" Diane giggled. Actually giggled. Like this was some cute little prank. "Oh, come on. It's just a joke. I thought it would be hilarious to surprise you too." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just stared at her, gripping my bouquet so tightly my fingers ached. I glanced at Adam, waiting for him to say something, anything to shut this down. But he was just as stunned as I was. Diane, clearly enjoying the attention, twirled in place like she was modeling for us. I figured, why not have some fun with it? We can take a few pictures together. It'll be so funny. The photographer looked at me, eyes wide, waiting for my cue. "No," Adam said, his voice sharp. "This isn't funny." Diane pouted. "Oh, don't be so serious. It's just a dress. It's not like I'm actually trying to be the bride." I finally found my voice. "Then why is it white?" She laughed again, like I had just said the funniest thing in the world. "Oh, honey, it's not white. It's ivory. Totally different." It was not different. Not even a little bit. She pulled out her phone and started taking selfies. With me in the background. Still in my actual wedding dress. Adam snapped. "Mom, stop." Diane gasped like he was the one being unreasonable. "Oh, for goodness sake. It's just a few pictures. Think of the memories." She turned to the photographer. "You don't mind, right? Just a couple of fun shots." The photographer did not move. She glanced at me again, waiting for my call. And that's when I decided. I turned to Adam and said, "We're taking these pictures somewhere else." Diane's face fell. "Oh, come on. Don't be so dramatic." But Adam had already grabbed my hand. "Nope. We're done here." Diane huffed like a child who just got told no for the first time in her life. "Oh, so I'm not allowed in any photos at all? I'm the mother of the groom." Adam's jaw clenched. "Not in these photos." And we left. Diane stood there, still holding her phone, her fake smile frozen in place. We found another spot, just far enough away that we couldn't see her. The photographer worked fast, snapping as many shots as possible before the sun dipped below the horizon. I could barely focus. My hands were still shaking. But Adam held on to me the entire time, murmuring soft apologies in my ear. I didn't respond. I wasn't mad at him. I was just exhausted. After the photos, we headed straight to the reception. Diane acted like nothing had happened. She was laughing, drinking, chatting with guests like she hadn't just tried to steal the spotlight. I didn't say a word to her all night. But I wasn't done. The thing about wedding photography? It's all about editing. And our photographer? She was good. A few weeks later, we got the first batch of photos. And I asked her a simple question. "How much Photoshop experience do you have?" She grinned. Enough. I gave her full permission to work her magic. And she delivered. Diane wasn't just removed from the background of the photos. She was replaced. In every picture where she had shoved herself in, grinning like she was the main attraction, the photographer had carefully swapped her out. Instead of Diane standing behind me in that white dress, my mother was there. Instead of Diane trying to pose next to Adam, it was my sister. Every single trace of Diane's little stunt was erased from history. And then, we sent out the wedding album. Diane was thrilled to finally see it. She flipped through the pictures, smiling, nodding, reminiscing, until she realized. She wasn't in them. Not a single one. Her smile faded. She flipped back through, slower this time, her fingers gripping the pages so tightly I thought she might rip them. Where am I? She asked Adam. He barely looked up. Huh. I was there. At the vineyard. Where are the pictures of me? Adam shrugged. We took you out. Diane's eyes snapped to me. You erased me? I took a slow sip of my coffee. Yep. And that's when it hit her. She would never be in another one of our photos again. Diane didn't take it well. At first, she just sat there, gripping the wedding album like it had personally betrayed her. Her mouth opened, then closed, like she was trying to decide whether to throw a tantrum or play the victim. I watched her carefully, waiting. I could feel it coming. Then, right on cue, her voice turned high and shaky. This is so cruel. I'm his mother. I should be in these pictures. I was there. Adam didn't even look up from his phone. You weren't supposed to be. That shut her up for about 3 seconds. Then, she snapped the album shut, slapped it down on the table, and turned her attention to me. This was your idea, she hissed. I didn't answer. I just tilted my head and let her dig her own grave. You're manipulating him, she spat. I bet you forced him to take me out of the pictures. I was just joking. Adam finally looked up, his face blank. No, Mom. It wasn't a joke. It was embarrassing. Diane's jaw tightened. Embarrassing? Adam shrugged. You showed up to our wedding in a white dress and tried to insert yourself into the photo session. If I wasn't your son, I'd assume you were desperate to be mistaken for the bride. I thought she was going to choke on air. Her face turned an alarming shade of red. How do you talk to me like that? Adam stood up, pocketing his phone. I'm done talking. If you can't respect our wedding, then don't expect to be part of anything else moving forward. And with that, he walked out. Diane turned to me, eyes burning. She wanted to say something. Scream, maybe. But Adam had already made it clear that this conversation was over. So, she grabbed her purse, stormed to the door, and practically ripped it open. But before she left, she looked over her shoulder and snarled, "You'll regret this." Then she slammed the door. I took a deep breath. That was not the reaction of someone who was going to let this go. And I was right. Because 2 days later, Diane started making calls. At first, it was just the usual pity tour. She reached out to Adam's aunts, cousins, and any family member who would listen, sobbing about how her evil daughter-in-law had erased her from the wedding photos out of jealousy. She told them Adam was being brainwashed, that I had isolated him, that he wasn't thinking clearly. Some relatives ate it up. I started getting passive-aggressive texts. A couple of snarky comments on social media. One of Adam's aunts even posted, "A mother should never be erased from her son's wedding." Some people are just heartless. Diane, of course, liked the post. But it didn't stop there. A week later, Adam got a call from his job. HR. They had received an anonymous complaint about him being verbally abusive to a female family member. The complaint claimed Adam had emotionally humiliated someone in front of witnesses and that he had anger issues. HR had to investigate. Adam handled it fine. He explained the situation to his boss, who immediately figured out what was happening. Diane's reputation wasn't exactly spotless. This wasn't her first time pulling something manipulative. HR dismissed the complaint, but still, it was a hassle. And Diane wasn't done. Because a few days later, I got a call from my wedding dress boutique. "Hi, this is Amy from Lillian's Bridal. I just wanted to confirm that you're requesting a refund for your gown." I blinked. "What?" She hesitated. "We received a call from someone claiming to be you. She said you were very unhappy with the dress and demanded a refund." She got pretty aggressive. I clenched my jaw. Was her name Diane? A long pause. Then a sigh. "So that wasn't you?" "Nope." Amy muttered something under her breath. "Well, don't worry. We didn't process anything. We figured something was off. I just wanted to check in." I thanked her, hung up, and let out a slow breath. Diane had officially lost her mind. Adam was furious. He called her immediately, not even giving her a chance to fake innocence. "Did you seriously try to get my wife's wedding dress refunded?" Silence. Then a stiff, "That's ridiculous. They literally just called to verify it wasn't her." Diane scoffed. "Well, how do you know it wasn't someone else?" Maybe she just has other enemies. Adam let out a sharp laugh. You know what? Keep digging your hole, Mom. It's impressive at this point. Then he hung up. Diane must have realized she pushed too hard because she backed off for a while. But something tells me she's not done. And honestly, I'm ready for whatever comes next. A week passed and Diane was quiet. Too quiet. Adam and I knew better than to assume she was done, but life got busy and we tried to move on. Then, out of nowhere, we started getting messages from strangers. At first, it was subtle. A comment under one of our wedding pictures on Instagram. Wow, I can't believe you did that to your own mother. Then another. So heartless. Imagine erasing your mother-in-law from your wedding. No wonder your marriage won't last. And then it escalated. A random number texted Adam, your wife is controlling and toxic. Run before it's too late. I got an email, you should be ashamed of yourself. How dare you disrespect your husband's mother like that? It didn't take long to figure out where it was coming from. Diane had taken this to Facebook. She had written a dramatic, gut-wrenching post about how she was heartbroken over being erased from her son's wedding. She never named us directly, she was too smart for that, but she didn't have to. The post was dripping with passive-aggressive hints. A mother spends her whole life raising her son, only to be discarded like garbage the moment he gets married. I was there on his special day, smiling through my tears, only to find out later that I had been erased from the pictures. Like I never even existed. It's a cruel world when the person you love most forgets who was there for him first. And the comments? They were vicious. Hundreds of people, some family, some total strangers rushed to Diane's defense. They called me a monster, an abuser, a gold digger who had brainwashed Adam into cutting off his poor, innocent mother. Someone even wrote, she probably faked being pregnant to trap him. I wasn't even pregnant. Never had been. But that didn't matter. These people weren't interested in facts. They just wanted drama. Adam saw the post first. He walked into the kitchen, phone in hand, jaw clenched so tight I thought he was going to crack a tooth. He didn't say anything at first. Just turned the screen to face me. I read it. Then I read it again. And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because this woman was completely unhinged. She wants attention? I said. Fine, let's give it to her. Adam raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I said, grabbing my phone. She wants to play this game publicly? Let's play. I opened Facebook. Now, I'm not the type to post my personal business online. But Diane wanted an audience? I was about to give her one. I wrote, funny how some people leave out important details in their sob stories. Like how they showed up to our wedding in a white dress, tried to insert themselves into our private photo session, and then took selfies while we were trying to enjoy our day. Funny how they conveniently forget that they were asked, politely, to step aside, but they refused. And the best part? Instead of apologizing, they threw a tantrum and tried to get my wedding dress refunded behind my back. But sure, keep playing the victim. I hit post. And then I waited. It took about 20 minutes before Diane called. I put her on speaker. You take that down right now. I leaned against the counter, smiling. Why? Everything I said is true. You're making me look bad. She screeched. Oh, I thought you wanted to tell your side of the story. I said. I'm just helping fill in the gaps. She sucked in a sharp breath, and I knew she was scrambling for something, anything to guilt-trip me. But Adam beat her to it. You embarrassed yourself, Mom, he said flatly. You did this to yourself. I am your mother. She shrieked. And? Adam snapped. That doesn't give you a free pass to treat my wife like garbage. Diane went silent. For the first time in years, she had no comeback. I could practically hear the gears in her head turning, searching for a way to flip this. But we had called her bluff. She wasn't expecting us to fight back. Then, in the smallest, most pathetic voice, she whimpered, You're choosing her over me. Adam sighed. No, Mom. I'm choosing sanity over drama. And he hung up. Diane deleted her post within the hour. But something told me this wasn't over. And I was right. Because the next morning, I woke up to police at our door. The pounding on the door was sharp and urgent. Adam and I exchanged a look. My stomach twisted. No way. I rushed to the peephole, and there they were, 2 uniformed police officers standing on our front porch. Adam's face darkened as he yanked the door open. Can I help you? One of the officers, a tall man with a tired expression, glanced at his notepad. We received a report of a domestic disturbance at this address. A woman named Diane claims she was physically threatened here last night. I almost laughed. Almost. Adam, however, did laugh. A single, humorless chuckle. Are you serious? The officer's expression didn't change. Sir, we need to ask you both some questions. We stepped outside, and Adam ran a hand down his face. She's lying. She wasn't even here last night. The officer nodded, jotting something down. Do you have any messages or proof that could confirm that? Oh, did we? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the text log. She called us at 7:42 p.m. We hung up on her. She was never here. The officer took the phone, glanced at the call record, then sighed. All right. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this doesn't look like a real case. We get false reports like this sometimes. But we have to check. Adam clenched his jaw. So what happens now? The second officer, a younger woman, gave him a sympathetic look. If she keeps making false reports, she could be charged. But for now, all we can do is write this up and move on. I swallowed my anger and forced a polite nod. Thank you for coming out. They left. Adam shut the door behind them and let out a slow, controlled breath. She called the cops on me. His voice was eerily calm, but his hands were shaking. He cut himself off, shaking his head. I can't do this anymore. And just like that, something snapped inside him. Adam had spent his whole life making excuses for his mother, brushing off her behavior, pretending it wasn't that bad. But this was the final straw. He grabbed his phone, scrolling furiously. I didn't even have to ask what he was doing, I already knew. He was calling her. Diane picked up on the third ring, and I could hear the fake concern in her voice. Adam? Honey? Are you okay? Adam didn't bother with small talk. You called the police on me? Silence. Then, in the most fragile, wounded voice, she whispered, I was scared. Of what? Adam barked. Of the fact that we called you out on your lies? Or that we finally stopped letting you manipulate us? I am not manipulative, she snapped. I was trying to make you see what she's doing to you. She's turning you against me. Adam let out a sharp breath. No, Mom. You did that. You did this to yourself. Diane went quiet. I could hear her breathing, rapid and uneven, like she was searching for something to say. Then she found it. You've changed, she said bitterly. You used to be such a good son. Adam let out a soft, bitter laugh. No, I used to be a spineless son. I let you walk all over me because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But I'm done. You don't mean that. I do. The silence stretched. Then, in a last-ditch effort, Diane whispered, I just love you so much. And for the first time, Adam didn't fall for it. I don't think you know what love is, he said quietly. And then he hung up. The moment the call ended, he let out a shaky breath and dropped onto the couch. He looked exhausted. I sat beside him. Are you okay? He exhaled. Not really. I reached for his hand, and he held onto it like a lifeline. And that was the end of Diane's reign over our lives. Diane did not take the rejection well. First, she tried damage control. She called Adam's relatives, sobbing about how he had cut her off and how she was just trying to protect him. Most of them didn't buy it. They had seen her antics firsthand. Then, she sent a long, dramatic email to Adam, detailing how much she had sacrificed for him and how, someday, he'd regret this. He never responded. Finally, when all else failed, she tried one last stunt. 3 months after the wedding, Adam got a letter in the mail. A formal one. From a lawyer. Diane was threatening to sue us for emotional distress. I almost choked on my coffee when I read it. She wants to take us to court because she embarrassed herself? Adam skimmed the letter, then tossed it onto the table. Let her try. She has nothing. And he was right. The lawsuit never actually happened. It was just another manipulation tactic, an empty threat designed to scare him into apologizing. But he didn't. And after months of failed attempts to control him, Diane finally went silent. It's been over a year. Diane is still around, but she doesn't exist in our world anymore. She still posts her dramatic, woe is me Facebook rants, but Adam unfollowed her. She still tries to guilt-trip him through family, but no one takes her seriously. She's a shadow now. Someone we used to know. Adam is happier. For the first time, he feels free. As for me, I don't regret one damn thing.